welcome all of you and the issues we have discussing. We'll first of all do preliminary comments on the accident that's claimed we're told 60 plus or 70 plus and so on. Just preliminary comments, and by preliminary comments I mean a minute or two, not beyond that. Kweku, what do you make of that accident?
Well, tragic, huge tragedy, but it goes beyond just this emotional thing. I don't claim to be an expert, and I don't have all the facts, so it may be premature to begin to make judgmental commentaries on this matter. But we have to look at so many things, you know. Perhaps it's good to wait for the police report and all that, but listening to people and reading the media, things like, you know, what kind of buses we are using and what kind of distances they are traveling, what are they required to do, you know, maintenance culture, you know, the discipline of the drivers themselves, you know, of course, ultimately even the passengers' reaction to things, but I'm not going to fault them too much, you know. So it's too early to make judgmental comments and come out with a conclusion, but clearly 60-something lives lost in one accident. It brought up a lot of things, the medical infrastructure, our preparedness, you know, in terms of emergency. I'm not saying we've done nothing as a nation, but it appears that perhaps whatever we are doing and projecting out there might be inadequate in terms of response, rapid response, and things. So it's too early. I want to be cautious, but first and foremost, my condolences to the bereaved families and to all of us, really. It's a tragic incident.
Okay. Well, that's Kweku Bako, and I just want to remind my panelists to back to the ground rules that have been with this show for a very long time. Sometimes it's not necessary to repeat what a guest has already said. If you endorse them, just say you endorse them, and then say something new for our guests, our listeners. Now, Honorable Inus Seni, you are in charge of our roads. You make sure that they are in good order, and also have some, you know, peek into what, you know, transport people should not be doing or should be doing. The police already have given us some information that from an account of one of the victims who survived. This is a Metro Mass bus driver who discovered that there was a brake failure, a brake fault, and sought to repair it. It didn't work, and yet he proceeded to continue with the journey. I must say that the Metro Mass Transit Company has refuted that claim by giving a different version.
Yes, for us as a people, everybody was shocked when the news broke out that the Metro bus was involved in an accident somewhere in the Brown Half region. And many people in that night, many people were reported to have lost their lives.
Right.
I've seen glory pictures of what happened.
Terrible.
But as a minister for roads and highways, that is one thing that we have had to live with. I mean, when we do the roads, the vehicles now tend to speed on those roads. Accidents increase on roads that have been done, and so that's why in doing roads we also take the pains to do speed calming systems or mechanisms on the road. That's why you see this rumble strips on roads.
Right.
That's why sometimes even communities abutting the roads take the trouble of erecting illegal speed ramps to prevent vehicles from overspeeding. But it's important for all drivers to know that especially commercial drivers, that when people enter your vehicle, they are entering into a contract with you to deliver them safely.
Okay.
You have no right whatsoever to determine what to do with the vehicle. If you have difficulty with your vehicle, and it's a commercial vehicle, all you need to do is to tell the passengers, yes, I have a duty to send you to where you are going safely, but I have a problem with the vehicle. So you give them notice, okay? And don't let them compel you to drive the vehicle in that state, because ultimately you will be responsible, whether through insurance or through criminal acts. I mean, if it is true that his braking system was faulty, then that will lead to other consequences.
Right.
So for us, we express our condolences, like Oko has said. I associate entirely with what he has said, and to say that Well, we have to look at our buses, check them, ensure that they are roadworthy before we put them on the roads.
Right. Mr. Quatin, we heard that this bus had gone through a fitness test before it hit the road, and yet this happened. What I would like you to look at is, if you may, is the pictures we are seeing of the victims who were being taken to the hospitals and were spread all over the floors, and you see there's no oxygen for those who need it. Those who need some infusion, nothing is available really. And some are dying simply because we can't help.
Yeah, our capacity to deal with these situations once again has been questioned by this particular incident. We probably should wait for the police report, but of course I would look at how it happened. The roads minister is here. He's part of government. I think we ought to see what is it we can step up in our capacity to deal with situations like this, so that praying that it doesn't happen. Should it happen, then at least we know the response will be swift. But from all accounts, the state's response to the crisis, to the accident, was too slow. It was too slow. We probably could have saved more lives, but for our slow response to this. As I said, we wait for the police report in order to be able to know what lessons there are to learn in respect of these. But one reason I find this accident particularly unfortunate is that the Metro Mass Transit buses has been thought of as a very safe way of traveling. And I've heard many people say, when you're in a big bus like that and you feel more safe, you are more confident, you get to your destination. And this, given the nature of this accident, has been shattered by the accident. And I find that worrying. Government and the MMT should take steps to restore public confidence in the Metro Mass Transit travels. Otherwise, it's going to affect their business.
Right. Kofi, we are to blame as passengers also. We are often told that we don't speak up. We don't stand up to our rights. And again, also authorities, we understand for these buses, for example, there are supposed to be some speed limits that are supposed to be some function fixed in them to ensure that they are not running beyond a certain speed. On the highways, it's not more than 100 kilometers per hour. We don't have them.
Right. So it's always difficult for me when we tend to blame citizens for things that managers must do. All right. So there's a lot being said about this particular vehicle. Okay. The brakes were not working. It's very easy to tell. Did the driver stop at a mechanic's? 60 people died. There were so many others in the vehicle. You can check that. We should have checked that by now. If the driver stopped at the mechanic, for what purpose? The CEO of Metro Mass Transit should be answering questions and should be afraid for his job as we speak. For hiring that driver with such poor judgment, for releasing that vehicle, and there's a chain of people he went through.
And overloading.
And then all of that. Now, in the land space of Ghana, why is it difficult for you to monitor a thing like this? Those of us who have traveled, okay, a driver drives for 2 hours, he has a mandatory rest. And he will stop at a filling station and rest for at least 15 minutes, 30 minutes before he continues. He doesn't do it. There's a system that will catch up with him. All right. And these are 60 people who were alive last week. People will drop out of school because of this. Businesses will collapse because of this. It is painful. And if you trace it down, it's the same mismanagement of our resources. It's the same, our managers not doing their jobs. And you know what hurts most? We may come back in a month and nobody will lose their job over this. And nothing will be done about this. And there will be no report about this. And we will go on, another set of people will die. It really, really hurts. So, are we managing the country? What is going on? Now, take the ambulance systems, for instance. Okay? We were here when 100 or so were bought. And look at the stories we are hearing. In Imani, somebody just out of frustration started doing some work and we put it, out. The cost of a V8 and the cost of an ambulance. And we do have an ambulance service. It is not maintained. And look, you may say we are, nitpicking and we are, trivializing the issues, but it bears saying that the country that can find money to do bus branding must, for God's sake, be able to find money to have an ambulance system running. So I can't afford not to be emotional about this.
Right.
Because I ask myself, when will it be your turn? And Samson.
And the ambulance system you talk about, I've heard people give testimonies that when you call the ambulance, you are asked to fuel it. If you can't afford to fuel it, shut up.
When they started, I saw some cutting foodstuffs on the Cape Coast Road and blowing sirens through it. Why are you going with cassava and blowing a siren? Because there's no consequence for that kind of thing. Look, and it's really difficult. I tell people that I don't fear crashing into another car because I drive carefully. I fear somebody crashing into me. All right? So this touches everybody.
Right.
And look, the problem is with leadership. Somebody must make sure they are on top of this thing. And if things like this happen, people should be very afraid so they prevent it from happening.
Thank you very much, Kofi Bento. People should be afraid that of losing their lives when some of these things happen. But is that the situation presently in our dear country?